Stan Gibilisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV, Whiskey 1, Good Vibrations. Here to describe for you a troglodytic term indeed, cathode keying. A lot of you will never have even heard of such a thing. Cathode? Does that mean that you use a vacuum tube as your amplifier or your oscillator or something? Well, the answer to that question is sometimes yes. In this particular example, I am showing a vacuum tube triode, control grid, cathode, connected through a CW key to the ground, the chassis ground, and the plate, which is normally connected to a high voltage DC power supply through various circuitry. This could be an Hartley oscillator, a Colpitts oscillator, a Pierce oscillator. These are variable frequency types, and these are, or were, crystal types. And when I say were, I really mean were, because we are talking about antique radio here. For those of you who like old-time radio and vacuum tubes and things like that, there was once upon a time such a thing as a cathode tube oscillator. And you could key that oscillator by literally disconnecting the cathode from ground, leaving the tube with no current flow whatsoever. Every time you press the key, you'd get a closed circuit, and the circuit would, you hope, start oscillating and send your signal out to the subsequent amplifiers and what have you. You could also employ cathode keying in an amplifier circuit after the oscillator. But the problem with that is that the oscillator signal, just a wee bit of it would leak through from the grid to the plate and go on out and cause what they used to call a back wave. That was a weak signal that could sometimes be heard over the air even when your key was up. And would you believe that I had a transmitter that actually emitted back wave radiation? Does that date me if my call sign doesn't? Well, my call sign doesn't quite date me back that far, but cathode keying simply means that you obtain your on-off CW switching by shutting the tube down, by depriving it of its DC power supply. You could also key the plate circuit, but then you would have your high voltage plate potential appearing right on your key. In fact, you could often get a shock off of your key with cathode keying when the key was up, because when you touch this point right here, you are getting some leak through direct current, and you can get zapped. And if you connect a newfangled electronic keyer to an old-time cathode keyed transmitter like this, chances are you're going to end up with a fried keyer. Sometimes the new and the old get along, sometimes they don't. But just to satisfy your boundless curiosity about antique radio, and I'm sure you have it, some of you do, and this video is particularly for you. That is what cathode keying is or was. There were a couple of problems if you did this with the oscillator, one of which was that the signal might chirp. Do you remember what chirp was? You never hear a signal like that anymore unless you happen to hear a signal from a country with old-time radio equipment. Sometimes you hear it from countries like Cuba or other third world countries where all they had was this kind of stuff. A chirp. Da 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 da, and or da 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 da. You know the drill. If you hear that nowadays on a new radio, fire that radio directly into the sun on the next space rocket to get rid of it. The thing deserves to be burnt at a high temperature. But all joking aside, cathode keying was a popular method of getting CW in the olden days. And you can still find transmitters today that use it if you like antique radios. And I sort of do. I wouldn't mind having one of those big old sets of boat anchors in my nerd cave. I just have to make sure that I didn't go barefoot in the basement when I operated CW. Stan Gibilisco, W1GV, saying 73, which of course means best regards, and so long, which in my native fist translates to da-da-da-da-da-da.